Hi, I'm Ryan Michael Galloway, and this is coming to you from WeDon'tNeedNoStinkingRecordCompany.com. And it's a beautiful day out here. It might be one of the last nice days of the fall in the location I'm in, so I decided to attempt to shoot this out in my front yard, and in doing so realized that I have no control over the environment. I've got golf carts going by me, I've got dogs barking around me, and people walking up and down, so who knows, cars driving by, who knows what's going to happen. Well, anyway, so I wanted to talk to you about ideas and where they come from or don't come from, or how do you induce yourself to come up with ideas. Remember, in our last post we talked about robbing the hook and how not to do that. Well, that same technique of trying to follow enough rules about, say, not using a key line or phrase or word out of your chorus as much as possible, that actually forces you into coming up with more ideas and more of a progression and something more interesting to lead up to your song. There are other great sources of ideas. One would be reading. Sting used to read the classics. He even read the Bible and wrote songs out of stories that he found in those places. There's a lot of great stuff, and even if you're not particularly religious, in the Bible, the Quran, a lot of strife and a lot of stories and a lot of crazy stuff that happened that was written about that's bound to make you think, or even if you come up with a completely new idea that would not necessarily be religious. I mean, go read some of the Psalms, and yeah, some of those are pretty racy. So that's an area. One also would be book titles. I have several times been walking by a stack of, really obscure books from the last 100 years or whatever, and seen a title that I thought that would make a great hook. And it wasn't a new idea, but it got me thinking, and book titles are fair game, as well as other song titles. We all know that Elvis wrote a song called, well, he recorded a song called Heartbreak Hotel, but so did Michael Jackson, and they are completely different songs. So if you happen to write a song that is repeating somebody else's hook or key line, it's not copyrightable, so it's fair game. Now, be really careful with that, because you can look like you're just ripping stuff off. And I hear a motorcycle in the distance, and it's liable to roll by here any second, drown out every word I have to say. So another great place to look for ideas for songs, believe it or not, is the list of horse names from your local racetrack that are running that weekend or that day. There's a story behind every single horse name, and you're liable to think of some or make up your own, or just love the name and say, I got to do something with that. It's happened to me before. Another one would be one area to read that I used to read a lot was actually stories in women's magazines about human relationships, because it got me thinking that way, and stories about people and love and difficulties and resolutions between folks. That was a great source. But you're going to find the sources of ideas that work for you. Oh, here's another one, parables. Parables would be a phrase like, if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. It's a two-piece phrase that comes up with a term and then an answer for that. And there's thousands of them from many, many different cultures. So go out on the web and search for parables, and there's a couple sites out there that have several thousand from different countries. And I think I wrote a song called When the Full Moon Loves You. The parable I based it on was When the Full Moon Loves You, Why Worry About the Stars? And that came from a Tunisian proverb, or parable, I'm sorry. So find things like that. Anything that usually is linguistic. But the whole idea is to cause you to come up with new ways of saying things, or new things. When you come up with that hook, as an example, if you find a phrase that's a good hook, you might be able to build a whole song around that. It becomes the compass for the song, because everything's got to lead up to it. It makes it very easy, comparatively. You might hear a line out of these different things that is just a good line, and something that you want to use inside of say a verse or a bridge. One of the problems, the biggest problem I've seen, is that a lot of us are writing songs, and I've done this, where I've followed every rule or every suggestion about about structuring a song, about not robbing the hook by not using a phrase earlier and thereby forcing myself into more ideas and all that kind of thing, and still come up with no ideas. Nothing particularly original, no turn of phrases, and the song sucked. So be aware that you can follow all the guidelines, rules, or suggestions around the craft and still come up with something lousy if you don't have ideas. And boy, I'll tell you, if you read through your song and you go, well, that's a line that's kind of been used before, and that's a line that's kind of been used before, and that's a line, and you say that to every line in the entire song, start over, or figure out how you can kick it up a notch, because you haven't done your job from the creative side, and it's probably, it may do everything it's supposed to do, but it probably ain't a great song because there's nothing new in it. Can that be a hit? Yeah, if you've got enough money behind it, you can make anything a hit. Go listen to Hey There Delilah and see if there's a single idea in that song. I haven't been able to find it yet, no offense, but that song made it because there was money behind it and a cute kid to build the whole thing around, and it ain't easy to do. But if you've got a product and enough money to promote it, yeah, fine. We don't have that luxury because we're independent singers, songwriters, and musicians, and we got to pick and write our tunes especially well, I think. And the dichotomy and contradiction of that is because we don't have any record companies we're working with, and there are very few people pushing us to write better, then we can get away with anything in our own minds and still write a crummy song and play it for whoever we want to, and thereby kind of dilute our image, our art, our abilities, and what we're trying to build. So I'm trying to get you to push yourself to get more ideas, and these are some suggestions on how to do that. Pay attention to what you're thinking when you're waking up. Pay attention to what you're thinking when you're in the shower. Have something to write stuff down with so it doesn't go away. Pay attention to what you're thinking in commute, in your car or on the bus. Pay attention to talk radio and talk television shows and the fun phrases that they start batting around there. You might be able to snag one that's really good, and I've done several. Anyway, hope that helps. I am Ryan Michael Galloway, coming to you from WeDon'tNeedNoStinkingRecordCompany.com.